Welcome to Jurassic Park.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while?
Do you want to know what it is?
There's no knowing where you might be swept off to.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
There's a special rug in hell reserved for people who waste good scotch.
He peed on my rug!
He peed on the dude's rug.
Do your worst.
Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Welcome to your feature presentation. I am Heath Fall, your host, and with me in the studio, Andrew McKay.
Greetings, popcorn munchers and kernel crunchers. It's a pleasure to be here. Absolute pleasure.
Is that the new catchphrase? Maybe.
Yeah. Popcorn munchers, kernel crunchers.
I like it. That's great. So today we're talking about Dune Part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just wanted to talk about the movie. We're coming off of Dune Part 2 recently, and we did a review of that. So we just want to have an episode where we just talk about Dune Part 1, what we thought about it, what we found interesting, what we found fun, what we found sad, etc. Right?
Yes, yeah. We mentioned that Dune Part 1 was eons ago during the pandemic. It was 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And we said that it was direct to HBO, and I have a distinct memory of seeing it in the theaters, and I cannot remember if the first time was in theater or if it was on HBO. When was the first time you saw this movie?
Yeah, it was on HBO.
Was it?
Yeah. So, well, now I'm confusing everything. Here, why don't you start with your initial thoughts on Dune, and I'm going to look up when this was released and where it was released.
Nice, terrific. So, I was several months, almost a year off of the book. Finished the book before I saw trailers. Finished the book, I think, before I was interested in casting rumors. That's something we referenced in last episode or a couple episodes ago. I just loved it so much. I am a dialogue-driven movie watcher. If the whole two movies is just dialogue, I'm still into it. I'm engaged and I'm loving it, soaking it up. So Dune, or Dune Part 1, titled Dune, was not as much of a slog to get through for me as some people. My wife, I know in particular, when we went to go see it in theaters, I think she actually fell asleep. And I was absolutely offended. I was astounded. I was like, how can you possibly fall asleep during this like emotionally riveting and compelling story? And she was like, because it's boring. They're just talking. I was like, whatever. So that was my kind of initial experience. I saw it twice. I believe I saw it twice in theaters, and definitely the second time I saw it was in theaters. Do you have any update?
I've got some news. And
okay.
So I love what I'm about to say because I feel like everyone can relate because we all lived through 2020.
Yeah.
So Dune was scheduled for late 2020 release, but was delayed due to the COVID pandemic. Premiered. So it did a film festival on September 3rd. International release was September 15th, and then it was released in the United States theaters and streaming on HBO Max on October 22nd. So I think you could have seen it.
Yeah.
I think our movie theater, we live in different cities. I'm in more northern Michigan. Do you say you live in northern Michigan?
No, not even close.
Okay.
But I don't say southern Michigan.
Right.
I just say like western Michigan.
For those Michiganders, I'm from Traverse City, Michigan, and Andrew's from Grand Rapids, Michigan, which Grand Rapids is fairly north in the Lower Peninsula. But I was just curious because I always say I live in northern Michigan, but I could also see someone in GR being like, well, I'm not I don't live in Flint. I live in upper Illinois. And then everyone in the UP is like, you guys are all Southerners anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, literally. We're trolls.
that's all. Yeah, these are all Michigan terms for anyone who's not Michigan thing. So here's another tidbit. This is why I brought it up, because obviously 2020 was crazy for everyone. I realized, so October 22nd, we would have been pregnant with our first child.
Oh, wow.
Me and my wife. And so my wife, why is that the movie quote that jumped in my head?
You just have to. You have to.
Yeah. So we knew she was pregnant. No one else knew. So it was very, very early on. So she was like first trimester sick in bed. No one else knew. We actually got COVID, I think right before that or like during that, and basically kind of like had that be a stretch for like, hey, why is your wife sick? It's like, oh, COVID really hung on for a month or two. Like that was kind of like our initial like, why is Emma gone? But so I just remember that because I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, because she was like asleep at like 7 p.m., and I was watching Dune on HBO Max in my living room by myself.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's how I watched Dune. So I think you could have seen it, I guess, in the theaters at the same time. So I think it was like simultaneously, but that's what I was going to say is our theater wasn't even open. I don't believe it was even open then. So if yours was.
There was, from what I remember correctly, my first time was at home or potentially some sort of watch party, but safe, obviously. Yeah, like we had been married for over a year, my wife and I, and she definitely would not have been interested to watch at home. So it could have been just me or maybe one friend. Yeah. But by the second time I wanted to watch it, my wife went with me, and I remember the theater seating was still very restrictive. Like if the theater was open, there were seats between everyone who wasn't in the same household, like that kind of stuff. So just to get a ticket was tough. I think we waited like 2 or 3 weeks after theater release to be able to go to the theater and see it. Well worth it.
I remember. Yeah, I was gonna say that was such a odd time for many reasons, but I remember that being like, theater seating was like don't sit next to each other. Yeah. Or I remember getting yelled at in the airport for standing next to my wife. She's like 6 feet. I'm like, I just kissed her. Like I think if we've got it, we're sharing it.
Yes.
So weird. But theaters were like that, and then it was such an odd time to go because like you didn't kind of want to ask anybody to hang out, but then you wanted to be safe, but then you didn't want them to be offended, but then you still wanted it. Like there's so much weirdness. And
that's just such a weird. Obviously, everyone can relate. There's all this like shared emotional and physical trauma, family trauma, and everything, but it's so interesting when something directly attacks or directly affects, I'll say, something that brings people together like movies do. Yeah. But when it's so specific, it's like you can't sit next to your lifelong friend and see this movie right now. Yeah. That's so unique, and but previous to that, had never heard of anything like that happening. Mm-hmm. Definitely not even in my parents' my parents' lifetime, and I'm not sure that anything will happen like that to us ever again. Fingers crossed. But movies are so communal, and there's no wonder that the studio released it on streaming and theaters at the same time, just as like a mad dash to get people to see it, because a lot of people weren't going to movie theaters still. Such a great movie. So good. Question for you about the movie. Was there something that you remember wanting to see? Like, I can't wait to see this part of Dune.
Yeah, actually, I remember thinking the shield system, with knife fighting, And I love that idea that was described, I feel like, very well in the books. But it was like, that's so cool to think about the future. We could go back to sword play because shields can stop normal, like, guns and even some future weaponry. So, like, we have to go back. Like, you have to go slow. Like, they talked about, like, shields blocked fast strikes. So you have to, like... I was like, oh, I really want to see that. I remember thinking that.
Yeah. Like, that kind of combat demands hand-to-hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, that was definitely... That was for me, for sure. Even just, like, the epicness. Like, it was hard because I talked about in one of our weekly episodes that how I saw the trailer before I read the book. So I did have some of those visuals, you know, already in my head. So, like, I knew the ships were going to be massive. And I don't know. But, yeah, first, I have two things. But one, so first, what was is there something that you really wanted to see from the book that you were like, oh, I want to see that in the movie?
When I read the book, I envisioned, this is kind of embarrassing, and I hope it's fine. I don't know, but I needed to see, I needed to see, the worms. What do they call them? I forget their, like, in universe name. It's something really cool.
About that. Let me look it up. Keep talking.
It's like I'm gonna guess right now while you look it up. Okay. It's the Nai Shalud. I don't know. But I needed to see the worms in a serious depiction.
Shai Halud. Yep.
The Shai Halud.
You were so close.
I was so close.
Shai Halud.
Oh man. Yeah, I needed to see them in like a serious depiction. Because all I could imagine was there was this game like mid 2000s where you're like a worm in the desert and it's a 2D game and you are controlling it with your cursor like it's a desktop game and you're trying to eat like people and cars and stuff. And that was the only reading the whole book and the sequel. That's all I can picture.
I love
like if it's not a movie, like I hope that it will leave my brain one day, but I just cannot. I can't get rid of a little, like, cartoony, stupid worm eating people and cars from a 2005 desktop game.
That's amazing. That makes me think of me playing Snake on my mom's Nokia cell phone. Just like the beep, 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 you know?
Yep.
And it's like, for some reason, every time they show the worm in the movie, it shifts to like... Shai Hulud. I love that about the movie, like obviously in the book, but just like the names of stuff is really cool. So yeah, this book came out in 1965, which I think is pretty cool. When I love talking about movies and or just like, I feel like Star Wars 1977 is such a big shift in what movies felt like. And I think it's cool that like you can see Star Wars having such a big influence on like especially like blockbuster movies and especially like the 80s in general. I love 80s movies, and we're counting 79 as an 80s year because of what movie?
Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Sigourney. We clarify the 80s as 1979 to what, 89?
Sure.
79 to 89 is the 80s. I
wasn't there for him, so I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. But so it's cool to me that like this was pre-Star Wars, like the science fiction, and I feel like you feel that when you read this book. It feels so different, but it's like, man, somebody who hadn't seen Star Wars wrote a science fiction book is like, I don't know, that's just it's baffling.
And like I've heard a lot of people talk about Frank Herbert as the Tolkien of sci-fi, like the OG. He's the guy. I mean, you said 1968?
65.
65? I mean, you have 14 years previous to Dune would be what I would say is like OG sci-fi novel, which is Foundation. And those like spun off into tons and tons of different works into the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was still Isaac Asimov. I believe who wrote the Foundation, but for all intents and purposes, because of the format of Foundation, I would consider like what Frank Herbert did like truly the first and flagship narrative sci-fi. I don't know if you're familiar with Foundation and how that it's been adapted, I think, on Apple TV. But the
I've
book
got that show on my list. I didn't know it was a book series.
Yeah, it's a good show. It gets pretty intricate because of the nature of the story, but
Kind of looks kind of
book
Dune-like.
itself.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Does it feel kind of like Dune-esque? Not like similar people or characters, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, it feels Dune-esque in technology, I might say. More Dune than Star Wars or Star Trek.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Foundation, from what I interpreted from that story, the original Foundation was less narrative driven and more like a bunch of short stories. But Dune is just absolute masterclass, like up there with Tolkien in just narrative storytelling in a genre. Absolutely.
I love a lot of fantasy books, and yeah, I love Tolkien. And I would say, yeah, I definitely would agree that he seems to be, and I think a lot of people would say this too, that just he is the father of like modern fantasy.
Yeah.
I've not read a lot of strictly sci-fi books, but so this is a book series. There's like a couple waves of them, right? Because his son, Frank, his son wrote 3, I believe.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm hesitant to speak.
Well, I think it's Dune Messiah,
And then Children of
of
Dune.
Dune.
I believe that Frank's son Brian took over / like I'm not sure if it was a Tolkien situation where like Christopher Tolkien had notes from his father and kind of filled in the blanks. I think at some point Brian just started writing for Dune. I don't think he had the notes that like Tolkien had left.
Yeah,
right? Like I don't think Frank Herbert had left that extensive of notes.
Yeah, so this doesn't even list to that, but yeah, it looks like he just kind of started writing books in this series. But it's like Dune 65, Dune Messiah 69, Children of Dune 76, still before Star Wars, all 3 of those books. God Emperor of Dune 81, Heretics of Dune 84, Chapter House Dune 85, and then it jumps to 99, and then 2000. So like there's quite a few.
Yeah, it looks like Frank Herbert did write those first 6 books.
Maybe his son took over in 99 or something.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening.
But this isn't a book podcast, so
No,
we can be vague
stop
on that.
talking about books.
Get
Who
these
cares
books
about
out of here.
books? Boo, I want to look at
can't
stuff.
Learn from books.
What's that from? Is that Willy Wonka?
Come with me. Which the new one stars Timothy Chalamet, starring in
That's
Dune. And we're back.
Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet.
I think Charlemagne, is that like an alcohol?
Isn't that the Roman?
Yeah, you're right. Charlemagne, yeah.
But it's probably an alcohol.
I like
it's got to
to
be a
call
mixed drink
Timothy,
at least.
Yeah, you're right. It can be for us next episode.
Yeah. Should we start? Because I always say, like, when somebody says something weird, I always say band name, Should we just switch that joke to mixed drink.
Mixed drink, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that could be our specific. This is our space for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm out in public, I like to say, put that on a T-shirt.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But behind
that's
closed
one of my
doors, what do
favorites.
you like to say?
Yeah, mixed drink it is.
Mixed drink it is.
for sure.
I love the clunkiness of that. I'll have that as a mixed drink name. Thank you.
One of those mixed drinks for me, please.
One of those mixed drinks. Ah, yes, that is a mixed drink, and I will have one.
Yes.
So let's
Anyway.
get back on track to Dune. So yeah, I have not read any of the other books. So I just read the first one, and we talked about it in our kind of precursor to Dune 2. But I thought it was a pretty good adaptation. It was just it was a really good movie, and I think what I liked about it is it was definitely like a cliffhanger, but I could also have seen that being just one movie. Like, I don't know, it didn't feel like it's not like the story was resolved, but it was like, that was a good ending. That didn't feel like, oh my gosh, this isn't even done yet, you know?
Yeah, you didn't think like, why the heck did I watch that? I just feel empty. You were enticed by Zendaya.
Yeah. in her robot armor.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's new. A new addition to the film. Well, I will say that one character that threw me for a loop, and I'm very happy about this. I'm happy about this loop, is Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho.
My boy.
I loved him as Duncan Idaho.
Yeah.
But I would have never imagined Duncan Idaho as looking or talking like Jason Momoa. But it's just so great. I love it.
I think, yeah, because especially at that time, a lot of the stuff we'd seen him is be a serious person, I guess. Like, more, not like serious as like method, but just like more somber. Like, he was Aquaman, but Aquaman doesn't seem like he has very much fun. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. He's not like Thor as comedic relief or something.
Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I think I agree. And I think he was also in the movie, and we're just doing spoilers for the movie, right? Why would you listen to this if you hadn't seen the movie?
Absolutely. It's been like 3 years.
But like, especially movie-wise, he has to die. And I know he dies in the book, but it's like, he's kind of like the big brother, perfect soldier. He understands the locals. He's the connection to everyone. But I don't know. I also like, it's interesting because looking back at the movie and the book obviously, but when the big takeover happens of the houses,
yeah,
I feel like the movie it felt like a big tragic moment to me, but no one really dies in that initial takeover that we really care about. Like,
yeah.
There's no one like, I don't know.
Except for Oscar Isaac.
Well, but I mean, like, that's kind of after. I guess I'm talking about like the initial takeover. You know, because like, okay, Timothy Chalamet and like his mom, like they escape. Did I say it wrong again?
Yeah, you did.
Chalamet.
It's okay.
Timothy Oliphant. Who are we talking about?
Just call him Timmy.
Timmy. Yeah, Timmy.
Timmy Chow Chow.
But yeah, so that guy and his mom, I'm not even going to use names anymore. That guy and his mom escape. And then Duncan Idaho, and then I am blanking on all these characters' names. What's the
Who are you talking?
the robot guy?
Dr. Chen?
No. Shoot, what do they call it? Like, he's like the Mentat. Like, his eyes go weird, and he's like a computer brain. Howitt. Gurney Howitt. No, right? Who's
Howitt?
Howitt, yes. Through Fear, Howitt.
Oh, Through Fear, Howitt.
Okay. This also bugs me about the book, originally. So the movie, like, I don't fault them for this, but they have two like main leaders of House Atreides, and their names are Hawat and Halleck. Like, I'm like, seriously? Like, even in the book, I get like those like names mixed up in my brain. In the movie, especially, like,
Yeah.
So it's Through Fear Hawat is the mentat,
And Gurney Halleck.
and Gurney Halleck is like the general. But so like you guys, you know those guys, you know Duncan Idaho, and like obviously Oscar Isaac is the Duke Leto Atreides, but none of those guys die in like the takeover, like the coup kind of thing. And I feel like for a lot of those,
I think the Duke dies in the initial coup.
well, no, he's captured. Remember, because he's
Oh,
captured.
you're right.
And then he
got
has the tooth. Yeah, which
so
I think
dope.
Yeah, which I think that's also just like so great, like the epicness of he's trying to take him with him, but then he fails in killing
The Baron.
Yeah, the Baron. Brain has stopped working at this point. The guy with the other guy, and he was like, betrayed the one person.
The floating dead fat guy.
Yeah. Needed pulsar lifts to stand. But then it's also, I love that because it's all like, he tried to take out the Baron, but he failed. But then it's also like, if he hadn't done that, he probably wouldn't have died. Like, they probably would have held him for ransom, or even if they were, I think they talked about executing him, but then like he might have gotten out of that, you know? But anyway, so I just find that interesting about the movie. It feels very, in a cool way, climactic. And it feels like I felt the tragedy of like, oh my gosh, we're losing House Atreides. But then they do it by not killing off any main characters, which I feel like, you know, to have those like Game of Thrones moments, it has to be like, oh my gosh, you killed Robb Stark, you know?
The episode 7 moment.
So yeah, I don't know. That was cool. That was cool to me that you felt it, and then it was like this huge thing. And
or I'm sorry, I think it was episode 5. Whatever. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Yeah, there was every season. The crazy episode is episode 5.
Oh, I don't remember which episode.
That's what my reference was. I think it was misdirected.
Oh, I
think I miscounted.
I immediately went to The Force Awakens, and I was like, I guess the Han Solo death. I mean, that is, you know, but
yeah, The Force Awakens, the height of cinema.
Yeah. We need to do an episode on Star Wars. I don't even know if we should do all of them.
Truly. You mean all 6 of them? We'll squeeze them in?
Yeah, exactly. All 6 of them. Well, Rogue One was pretty good. But that'd be interesting. Okay. We'll have to talk. We'll have to do something with Star Wars.
Yes.
But that'd be fun. But yeah, so I think it was just cool. I think what Dune, like, it was successful in that movie. And especially during the pandemic, it felt like a movie that was, like, it was refreshing because we hadn't gotten anything new in so long. It was like, oh, this is a good book adaptation, and it's a good movie again. We hadn't gotten, like, just a good movie in a while, or any movie for... I think they held off a lot of movies. Like, I remember them just being like, oh, well, let's just wait until this all cools down. You know, 2 weeks to lessen the curve.
Yep.
But yeah, so I think Dune was a really good movie. What was like some of your highlights of like what stands out as like, what did you love about Dune Part 1?
Man, I loved Rebecca Ferguson. That's Paul's mom, Jessica Atreides.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. So
from Silo, another good episode.
Yes, literally.
I love Silo.
I just in the last 6 years, every time I see Rebecca Ferguson, I'm like, I'm gonna like this.
Yeah,
this is gonna be great. Silo. She was in Doctor Sleep. She was Rose the Hat.
That was a
which
hard
is
one for me
controversial.
To watch.
What?
I liked her in that movie. That was a movie that was hard to watch.
Yeah, but it's hard to watch, and it's liking it can be controversial. I'm not sure if I do. I don't know, but she was one of the best parts about it.
Yeah.
She was in the musical with Hugh Jackman, The Greatest Showman.
This is the greatest show.
Yeah, she was Jenny Lind. She's doing great things. So Rebecca Ferguson was definitely a highlight for that movie.
Yeah.
What else? I think seeing Javier Bardem was amazing, and I haven't seen him since that James Bond movie.
Yeah, where he
You know
like
what I'm
took
talking
off
about?
his face.
Yeah.
I was destroyed. I used to be you, and takes off his jaw.
Yeah, just like,
Oh.
yes. You're
Set
like,
it aside. Oh.
yeah. Just an absolutely terrific actor. So I just was blown away by.
I think that's one of those
the
things
casting.
too. Yeah, I was gonna say the casting was just so amazing. It's like good story, like made into a good screenplay, good director, good acting, and I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just a solid. You know, it's just a solid. I regret that I said that way. I don't know why. You know what that is? That's a solid. I've never used that phrase
That's a
in my
solid.
life, but here
I
we
think
are.
it's a gas, actually. It's not
It's
a
a ga-
solid.
You're a gas. Your mom's a gas.
Yeah. Casting obviously was huge for me. The music was incredible. Let's see, was that Hans Zimmer?
I don't know. That's a good one.
That's my guess. That's my guess is Hans Zimmer.
Keep talking about the music as I look it up.
Oh, the music. Sing it, Heath.
Yeah, it was Hans Zimmer.
Sing me a song. Sing me a song.
Man.
The throat singer in the sacrifice scene where all those people are upside down and dying, and then there's that guy on the top of the podium who's like,
Oh, yeah.
That was a top tier impression, by the way.
What, yours?
Yes, yeah.
Or both of ours? I don't know
I think
why
both.
they hire musicians. They should just have us do it.
Yeah, we're on the case. We got. Don't spoil it. We're under NDA. We can't talk about it.
Well, I was gonna say, like, we're gonna have to cut this from the. We can't.
That's how I got it,
We
yeah.
shouldn't even joke about it.
No, oh man.
Look for us in the
we're
credits.
in-
Dune 2.
For the lady in the background and the throat singer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, sweet. Let's wrap it up here.
terrific.
Yeah. Let's do something fun. Oh, I've got a fun question. We've got like
Great.
2 minutes left, so we'll do it quick. But what is your theater setup? By what, like, for me, like, what do you need to watch a movie in the theaters? For me, it's food based, and I've got mine. But whatever it is, go. You have a minute.
Oh, popcorn, absolutely. I don't care what vessel it's in. I don't care if I get a free refill or not. I just need some popcorn. I love popcorns. A drink is optional, honestly.
Oh,
if it was like you could have a drink or you can have popcorn, I'm going popcorn, and I will be parched, and that's fine.
No.
What about you?
That sounds terrible to me, honestly. I'm 100% on board with the popcorn, but I need my beverage. I'm the guy. Like last year for my birthday, I was like, I'm going to treat myself, and I'm going to get 2 Coke Ices. That way I don't have to get up and get a refill. Like, I'm that guy. So, yeah, Coke Icy, bucket of popcorn. And as we wrap it up, the only way to have that popcorn is your limited edition Dune 2 popcorn bucket. If you don't get that, look it up.
Absolutely.
I apologize for the things you're going to see. That's all for today. That's our thoughts and talking about Dune. We'll see you later. You can say bye, too.
Oh, bye, Colonel Munchers.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Why don't we just wait here for a little while?
Do you want to know what it is?
There's no knowing where you might be swept off to.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
There's a special rung in hell reserved for people who waste good scotch.
He peed on my rug.
He peed on the dude's rug.
Do your worst.
Final report. The commercial starship Nostromo.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need